Hey guys, it's Lizzie. So this is Ask Lizzie number 25. I've been doing this series since I was 17 years old back in 2011. How old are you? I'm 23. I'm turning 24 on July 22nd. I'm so old. Like, I do not want to be 24. What is your favorite place to be? Anywhere with grass and sun and the beach, water, so whether it's the ocean or a lake or the pool. How do you make your videos? What editing software and what kind of camera? So I edit with Final Cut Pro X and my camera is a Canon EOS Rebel T5i. Do you plan on going to grad school? If so, what would you study? I might in a few years. Currently, my life is so busy working constantly, I would not have time to go back to school, but I would love to study either theology or psychology. What do you recommend in terms of church history and faith? So I recommend a book called The Church History by Eusebius. One of the best books I've ever read, goes super in depth into the first few centuries of Christianity, into a lot of the martyrdoms, and so just knowing that so many people gave their lives, were tortured, killed in these horrific ways for the faith, it just makes you appreciate it so much more. Do you believe in parallel universes? Kind of. No, I don't. But in philosophy, I was a philosophy major in college, we'll always talk about near possible worlds. So I talk in that language all the time. I'll be like, in a near possible world, da 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 da. In terms of waiting till marriage from a Christian perspective, oh my gosh, this is gonna be graphic. What does that mean in terms of expressing yourself sexually? Exactly. What are your thoughts on what is okay and not okay? Intercourse? Not okay. Oral sex? Not okay. If you're having sexual boundaries, how would having an orgasm or oral sex be okay? Obviously that's not okay. I made an entire video talking about physical boundaries in relationships, so I'm gonna link that here and below. How did you explain your decision to your parents? So to convert into Catholicism, I wrote them 3,000 or 4,000 word letter explaining why I was converting with all my arguments. Did you tell them about everything you researched? Yeah, I told them about everything I researched. I was like, church father quotes about real presence. Here is why Peter is the rock and the keys of the kingdom mean Jesus was establishing the papacy. I gave them all of these arguments. It was really, really intense. I think they still have a lot of misconceptions because they don't really like that I'm Catholic, so. What is your response to those that believe NFP is unbiblical because it is still technically trying to control how many children you have? I'd love your thoughts. So for those of you who are not Catholic, NFP stands for Natural Family Planning. So it's a way in that you can track a woman's cycle, and if for some reason it'd be dangerous to get pregnant or you want to space out your kids, you cannot have sex for 1 week out of every month. For people who think it's unbiblical or against church teaching, if church authority is teaching us that it's okay, then it's okay. I don't understand the point of being Catholic if you're not going to trust church authority. It makes no sense. What is one thing you do not like about being Catholic compared to when you were Protestant? So I feel like Catholicism was just adding on more depths, more layers, more dimension to Christianity, so I feel like I didn't really lose anything, I just gained so much more. So it's everything I loved about Protestantism plus like 1,000 more amazing things that were cut out during the Reformation. What is your opinion on the relationship between science and religion? So obviously they go together. That's what I really love about Catholicism. We accept science, and for example, the church I grew up in, a lot of people didn't believe in evolution, believed in the 6-day creation, and that's just really embarrassing for people who are not Christian to become Christian. Like, there's a lot of people in the US who are atheist or agnostic who think that Christians are just not intellectual and are directly going against science, and that's just so annoying to have as a stigma for Christians. I think it's just really helpful if you understand literary genres and you understand that the beginning of Genesis, it's an allegory, it's not a science textbook. I feel like it's pretty simple. If you study the history of the Western world, Christians created modern science. Christians created the universities and academia and medicine. So many hospitals still today are founded by Catholics. The Catholic Church has never had an issue with faith and science. They always go together. How can we help more young women like yourself understand the non-religious reasons for respecting motherhood, pregnancy, conception as valued, special times in a woman's life, and her family. What is this even talking about? And the non-religious detriments of abortion. So I think about this all the time, the contradictions in the pro-choice argument. So many social media influencers who I follow on Instagram or YouTube are pregnant right now. And I find it really interesting that even like 2 weeks into the pregnancy, 3 weeks into the pregnancy, they're like, oh my gosh, my future child, my baby. But then other people will get an abortion 2 months in and they'll just say it's a clump of cells. It's basically the woman's decision when the embryo or the fetus has value, which honestly is really, really relativistic to me. If someone has to decide whether or not something has value, it seems like it's not based upon any sort of absolute truth. But that's the problem with our society. A lot of people genuinely believe in and live out moral relativism. But the bigger issue is just that a lot of Christians do not believe that life begins at conception. Before I became Catholic, I had no idea when the soul entered the body. There was nothing in the Bible about it. So I think people who aren't Catholic, like, there's no reason for them to believe that life begins at conception, that ensouling begins at conception. But the biggest obstacle is that a lot of people in our country who are non-religious just don't even believe in a soul, so they're physicalists. So it's a convincing pro-life argument to say that at every stage as the baby is developing, it has a soul attached to it. That gives it meaning. But a lot of people, like I said, are moral relativists or don't believe in a soul, and so it's just kind of impossible to talk to those people. We're coming at this from such different perspectives. If we're trying to communicate with people who literally don't believe in truth, it's just difficult to even have a conversation with people like that. They might not admit this, but their thought process makes it so that they don't believe in moral absolutes. What are your thoughts on Anthony Kennedy's retirement and the possibility of Roe v. Wade being overturned? I have a conspiracy theory about the Republican Party, that they're trying to just get people to vote for them by being the pro-life party. Lots of times in the past, like while Bush was president, where there were Republicans in control of the House, the Senate, President, Supreme Court, all Republicans. So the Republican Party has had plenty of opportunity when they've fully been in power on the federal level, and they have not overturned Roe v. Wade. I know that you kind of have to scheme about it, like a certain state has to pass an abortion law that everyone thinks is really strict, and then gradually that'll climb up to the courts. But I think a lot of people just don't realize how laws work in our country. Even if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it's going to become a state's right. So in all the liberal states, abortion will still be legal, so people will just travel to the states where it is legal. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to end abortion. Even in Ireland, women would literally buy plane tickets, fly to a different country to get an abortion. So in our country, you just have to drive out of your state into another state to get an abortion. So those are my thoughts. I think people think Roe v. Wade being overturned is like a big deal and a victory, but since there are so many states where it will still be legal, it'll be super easy for people to still get abortions. Are you still a Democrat? Oh, this is a good question. Also, I love the question above me. Do you believe in aliens? Yeah, I was gonna cut that question out of the video. It didn't make sense. Where I stand politically, right now, the people in control politically in our country are alt-left and alt-right. I don't agree with either position. And honestly, comment below if you experience this too, but everyone in my life fits into the middle politically and isn't really represented by the super Republican, let's get rid of all regulations, including clean drinking water and clean air. Like, who actually thinks like that and literally doesn't believe global warming is real? Like, that's crazy. No one in my life is like that. And then the super liberal stuff going on right now, I used to think I was really liberal with my economic views, how I want less funding in the military, more funding in education. Felt like I was pretty liberal, but now I don't know anymore. Do you love Demi Lovato? Yes, I love Demi Lovato. I have basically all of her albums. Her new song, Sober, that she just released. So good. It has a line in it that says, sometimes I just wanna cave and I don't wanna fight. I try and I try and I try and I try and I try, just hold me. That part I love so much because I feel like with bipolar, like, you're constantly fighting it. You have to have a perfect sleep schedule, work out every day, eat healthy, be on meds, therapy, psychiatrist appointments. It just feels like so much effort goes into being normal and staying stabilized. And that's why I've gone off meds 4 times in like 2.5 years, because it's so exhausting constantly fighting. So I really relate to her song. What are your thoughts on Kanye rapping about being bipolar and calling it his superpower? So I actually looked up this song. I don't follow Kanye West at all. And I read a lot of articles online, like BuzzFeed. Everyone was getting so mad about it. So I think that people with bipolar or with any mental illness can define their own experience. It's so invalidating and just, I think, awful to tell someone who's suffering with a mental illness, you're not allowed to feel this way about your mental illness. I love being bipolar. When I'm more manic, I just have constant ideas, stream of consciousness in writing and producing whatever you're working on. So I have a lot of benefits out of being bipolar. I also think it's hell and I hate it, but I totally think it's a superpower. Like mania, everyone would love to be hypomanic. It's so great. Do you ever go back and watch your old videos? Yeah, I was doing that today. It's so cool because it's like having a diary or a journal entries. Like you can see your past selves. It really helps because I have a lot of memory loss from when I was in really severe depression. So I literally forget like 2 years of my life. So I can go back and watch my videos and like remember what happened. If so, which are your favorites? Love you. I love you too. I really love this video I made with my friend Monica. It's like a Pepperdine tour video, but it tells like my whole story of when I was at Pepperdine. And then another video I made, like how to connect with God and like how to read the Bible and pray. This is so funny. Is it okay to dislike Christian music? Even though I'm a Christian, I only like the songs at mass, but not the ones on the radio. Yes, I totally agree with you. I know some of my friends who do music, who are like in choir or lead worship, hate contemporary Christian music because it all sounds the same. It just isn't good musically. I don't know that much about music. I'm not like a music connoisseur, so I like some of the popular Christian music, but I think it's great if you like mass music more. Like I feel like a lot of trads would be like, yes. Can you explain why Jesus makes himself present in bread and wine when all I want is to talk to him in person, not have him in me? I believe in a real present. I just want to know why God thinks it's good for us to have him inside of us. So right before Jesus died, if you start reading the end of John, starting in chapter 14, just read like 14 through 18, Jesus is kind of preparing his disciples for when he's about to leave. And he says that he will not leave them orphans, but he's sending the helper, the advocate, the Holy Spirit that will guide them in truth. I actually think of it as we have something better than the original apostles who walked and talked with and knew Jesus personally, because the Holy Spirit is living inside of us, and the real presence is an aspect of that where physically Jesus is part of us and it represents this unity between everyone. So while you might think it would be better if you could physically talk to Jesus, it's actually way cooler and way more empowering that Jesus is a part of inside each of us through the Holy Spirit. I feel like I get to talk to Jesus in person all the time when I pray, and also we have the entire Bible to read in which God is specifically speaking to us, speaking truths to us. Just like for an example, like this is my Bible. Look how much this is to read to get to know God and talk to God and interact with God. The early Christians did not have the Bible, and I personally would rather live now where we have the Eucharist and the entire Bible. Today's the memorial of your patron saint, Saint Irenaeus. I know, we went to daily mass today and I was so happy. I had it in my calendar for the rest of my life. It's gonna be in my calendar anniversary for forever. If you could give advice to your high school self, what would you say? I would say to stop judging everyone. I was very judgmental in my high school, especially of the guys. I thought all the guys were idiots, just like didn't care about school, so annoying. I feel like I didn't really respect certain people. And once I got to college and beyond, a lot of guys I talked to said in high school I would have hated them. Didn't have the idea that like people change and grow and you should like love and respect people where they're at. You said you didn't believe in demons until going to Thailand. Could you elaborate on that? No, I mean we had an experience, but I don't really want to talk about it online. Thailand is just one of the most spiritual countries in Southeast Asia. One of my best friends who I went to Thailand with can literally see ghosts. We could make like probably a 20-minute video like sharing stories and stuff, but I don't want to. Hey Lizzie, where are some of your favorite places to shop? Your clothes are so cute. So Forever 21, H&M, Zara, sometimes Francesca's. What is your everyday makeup and what makeup products are your favorite? So here is my makeup box. So some products I consistently use. I really like the Anastasia contour palette. I use this every day. This mascara Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. It might be better than sex because I've never had sex. And then I really love Anastasia eyeshadows. What's your biggest advice for switching psychiatrists? Still trying to get a proper diagnosis and I'm switching for the first time. So I've been to probably over a dozen different psychiatrists. I'll make a list of like 10 or 15 different offices and I'll call and be really intense and be like, I've had a horrible experience with different psychiatrists. I only want a psychiatrist who really understands bipolar, has had so much experience with people who are bipolar, and really emphasize that part. Bipolar is more rare, so most psychiatrists or therapists just deal with depression and anxiety. My experience is a lot of them do not understand bipolar, but some do. So just be really intense and be like, I only want to come if they specialize in bipolar. Hey Lizzie, what's the difference between talking back to your parents and just showing the true emotions you may be feeling, such as anger and sadness? Love you. So I was a horrible teenager in adolescence, so I would just say what I felt and talk back to them, and when I become a mom, it's gonna be horrible because my kids are gonna have my DNA and be super disrespectful too, so it's gonna kind of be it's gonna be kind of dramatic, and all my kids have a 1 in 4 chance of being bipolar, so that's gonna be fun. Really like this Bible verse, Ephesians 6, it talks about children and parents. So it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise that it may go well with you and that you may have a long life on earth. Do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up with the training and instruction of the Lord. When dealing with conflicts with your parents, the parent is the adult in the situation. So if they are doing something that is provoking you to anger, provoking you to a strong emotion, it is their fault. Parents should be in control of their emotions, and they should be able to communicate in a way that is chill and calm. If they're making you really angry, really emotional, invalidating your emotions, it's probably their fault. And I honestly wouldn't blame yourself that much. I just get messages all the time from adolescents and teens, and they explain to me what their parents are like, and it just has given me a really negative view of parents. I think most people are not good parents, but I guess you could explain your emotion in a way that isn't yelling. Like, I don't recommend yelling. I hate yelling. Yelling should never happen unless you're dying. So if you feel like you're yelling, maybe go into your room, cool down, chill out, maybe write out on a note or a letter if you can't be calm. Hey Lizzie, I love you so much. Can you talk about the roles of parents and children and how children should act in defense towards abusive parents, specifically emotional and verbal abuse, without disrespecting them or going against the commandment of God? Like I said, I think that the parent is the adult in the situation, so they have the majority of the responsibility to be communicating in a positive and healthy way. If they're failing to do that, and you're responding to that in a way that is disrespectful but is defending yourself, I don't blame you at all, because they're the parent. They're the one who's supposed to be mature and healthy and be a leader in healthy communication. So if your parent has only treated you with unhealthy communication skills and you've learned that from your parent, then obviously you're going to respond in an unhealthy way because they taught you to be like that. But obviously you can rise above that and respond in a kind, peaceful, gentle way. But if you are being emotionally abused by your parents, I really recommend going to therapy and counseling. I know I've gone to a lot of therapy and it's helped me to understand everything negative emotionally that happened to me growing up. I think it's really important for everyone to go to therapy, actually, because I know, just an example for one thing I dealt with, my parents would invalidate my emotions a lot. So if I said, hey, you hurt me when you said this, they would say, no, I didn't hurt you. So it got me to a point where I would never tell anyone if they hurt me, ever, because my parents taught me that it wasn't real if I said that they hurt me. Once I did therapy and understood what happened, now I've been able to have positive communication in relationships in my life, and now I will speak up and tell someone when they hurt me. But that took years to undo that kind of damage, and you really need to go to therapy to fully understand what happened. And the most important part is you will treat other people in the same exact way. It's so common to hurt your kids emotionally in the same ways that you were hurt. So if you're not self-aware of what happened and don't understand what happened, it's going to be more difficult to change and to treat your kids in a really healthy way. I personally have a pretty negative view of humanity, and I think most relationships are unhealthy, and most relationships have emotionally abusive-esque aspects to them. So it's just really important to be self-aware, and therapy is one of the places where you can change and make sure you don't hurt people in your life. I also recommend praying a lot. I know when I was going into therapy and understanding what happened to me growing up, praying that I wouldn't do the same things if I were to get married or to have kids just really helped. So just pray all the time. If you feel like it's very difficult to change or you don't understand what happened, just pray and God will help you to change. My daughter wants a Bible that has margins on the side of the book so she can write in it. Do you know where I can find something like that? It would be her first Bible. Or if you know of a Catholic Bible, oh my gosh, yeah, she's 22 years old. Yeah, so this Bible is the Little Rock Catholic Study Bible. I write in my Bible so much, and there's plenty of space to write in it. And this also has study notes. Probably will super encourage her to read her Bible because it explains everything. Natural family planning for you, or overall thought. So I view pregnancy, marriage, and sex all as the same thing. So if I do get married, that means I'm wanting to have children and start a family with the person. So I wouldn't get married if I was in grad school, for example, and didn't want to have a child for 3 or 4 years or something. I just wouldn't get married. I would postpone getting married because the Catholic theology and what I think everyone should believe is that sex, marriage, and children are all intertwined because biologically sex produces children. So because I'm bipolar, if I was in like a severe depression episode and medicine wasn't working and it was life-threatening or something, then I might not have sex or use NFP to not have children. Hi Lizzie, are gender roles really necessary? I don't think so. I think that every relationship, you should just do what you want in your relationship. I remember in an earlier video, before you became Catholic, you said that you thought the church would eventually allow gay marriage. I remember this. I fully believed it. Now that you're a Catholic, has that opinion changed? Absolutely. So marriage being between a man and a woman, not having birth control, not having divorce, all of that is dogma, which means that it will never change. So for people who want to allow gay marriage in the church or who want to use birth control, trying to change that is just something that will never happen. It's just very black and white. How has traveling been for you the past few weeks? It's been so fun. I've been to so many different cities, so many airplanes. I haven't gotten exhausted yet. We're leaving on a road trip tomorrow morning at like 9 a.m. for like 12 hours, so I might get exhausted then. I'm speaking at a church at a youth group, so I'm super excited. I've been making like the PowerPoint and everything, but it's been really cool to go to a different church every week and kind of hear how there's a different bishop's name because you're in their jurisdiction. I really love the idea how mass is so similar, but then seeing the differences in style and how the worship is. So it's been really, really amazing getting to worship in so many different places. Any tips on trying to save money as a student and extra ways to make money? I know you graduated, but I thought you would have a few tips. So I made a video with my roommate Alana and we directly talked about this for like 5 minutes. So I'm gonna link that here and below. But my number one tip is to not go out to eat. If you cook your food at home and just buy groceries like rice, pasta, bread, fruits, vegetables, if you just make your own food, you're gonna save so much money. And also do not go out drinking because a cocktail can be like $12, $15. You can just drink it at home with your friends and save so much money. What are the best and worst parts of being an influencer? So the best part is getting to do YouTube as a job. So many video ideas. I love editing. I love writing video scripts. I think the absolute best part is getting to interact with so many people and reach so many people. I get thousands of messages from people who need help and who trust me to help them. And so getting to just interact one-on-one with so many people and help so many people who have bipolar disorder, who have questions about God, and getting to inspire so many different people. The worst parts of being an influencer, sometimes you feel really lonely. Like I was at this Catholic conference and I was getting recognized by so many people and it was like giving me anxiety because I felt like everyone knew Lizzie but not me. I'm kind of acting. This isn't like my real personality. It's one part of my personality. You end up feeling more lonely the more popularity you get, if that makes sense, because people don't really know like the core of you unless they spend a lot of time with you. And then it's really annoying dealing with mini scandals. During my confirmation, I wore this dress and a ton of people were like offended by the dress. You'll say one thing and everyone will take it out of context. And on Twitter all the time, people will try to like get a video and say that I'm saying something that's going against church teaching when clearly I'm not. So people try to like ruin your reputation, and it's just so annoying. But what I love about Twitter is whenever people try to do that, I'll always like quote their tweet and then write a response. Every time I do that, the person either blocks me or deletes their tweet because they realize that I'm right and they're wrong. That was so many questions. I feel like I tried to answer as many as possible. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!